And we are back with another episode of the Experience Podcast. And today I have another very special guest. I happen to have the pleasure of meeting Mr. Quincy France the first time I had actually met my business partner. The first time we were really representing Training for Warriors, it was at the MMA Expo. So, without further ado, I'm going to let him explain a little bit about his background and give you the reasons why he's here on the Experience podcast. So, Quincy, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks. Thanks a lot for having me on. And like I said, it was an honor meeting you guys. It was really cool running into you guys and find out what you guys are doing, and especially the challenges that you guys had. That I know you remember me and the team were excited about the challenges that you guys put forward for the event.
Yeah, so when you say the team, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about the team that you are from and where your background is and what, you know, what where you are. Maybe you can, what you're doing nowadays as far, or maybe give like a little bit of a history rewind almost, a little bit about who you are.
All right, so I'm originally from St. Kitts in the British West Indies, and since birth I've always been active. But a lot of family members were always into sports. My father did martial arts, and as far as I can remember, I vividly remembered him like kicking trees in the backyard. And as a kid, it was of course, your dad is your hero, and I just remember being wanting to be like him. I had uncles that played basketball, so from the age of 5 to 4, I was dribbling basketballs, and that was my biggest passion was playing basketball. So all through high school, I played every sport you could put in front of me: volleyball, basketball, football, everything. And then I eventually went to the military, where I boxed a bit. Also did a lot of martial arts, many forms, Jeet Kune Do and Taekwondo, and just having a constant active lifestyle. So leaving the military, I actually while I was in the military, I started actually bodybuilding for the first time, and I had a lot of time in the military, so I went into the military weighing 140 pounds and left weighing about 165. So by the time I did my 4 years, I came home, and then everybody's looking at me like, what did you eat? And I really started to um, look at fitness as not necessarily like a career goal, but just something that I need to. I loved it, and I wanted to see how much education I can get out of it. So I went and got a NASM certified, but I initially did it to become a trainer, and seeing how the box gyms treated their trainers and the splits and stuff like that, I decided against it and just started training people on my own. And I always had a passion for bodyweight training. And through a YouTube video that I posted that my son taped when he was like 7 years old, I got connected with the what's called the calisthenics or the bar game, as they call it, little subculture that started here in New York, where it's just a bunch of guys that work out in the parks, utilizing the free facilities that's all over New York and around the world for that matter. And I gradually just grew with the culture and started my own team in New York called Brotherhood. And I'm also part of a team called Team Blackout. And basically what we do is we compete in calisthenic competitions. So basically the most repetitions you can do in a minute or two, or different bodyweight routines done to a time judged. And currently I'm like one of the um, top ranked middleweight and lightweight in the sport, and at age 44 presently. So I've been traveling doing calisthenics. I go to different states to compete. We're actually having an event coming up where in Chicago, and it'll be the same thing. And there's even a movie called Raise Up, The World Is Our Gym, about the subculture that's happening, and it's so new, but I have a mission to actually help propel it to a larger stage and actually have it on the stage and
That's awesome, and that's incredible. You know, that's a big reason why I fell in love with what you guys are doing, because it's really the mindset that we also kind of follow, that holistic approach to training. If you could tell somebody starting to do calisthenic training, what would be three things that you would tell them they should be focusing on, since you are, you know, it's not a young man's sport and you are at the elite level? What would you tell someone that's just maybe starting to get moving with those body weight movements?
One of the first things is to humble yourself and to take the experience and not take it too seriously, because I see it as going back to childhood. Nobody had to give you an explanation to go run and jump and climb and swing. You just went out and had fun. So I feel that if you're doing a particular exercise and you find it enjoyable, it makes it easier for you to do it on a day-to-day basis. You don't want to see it as, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, it's not fun, the atmosphere is not right for me. So usually people reach out to me and say, I want to try this for the first time. Can I come out? What your session is like? Can we meet on one-on-one basis? I would usually take them to my park, which is Combe Dam Park, which is right across the street from Yankee Stadium, which is what considered our home base, which is what we call Brotherhood, which is the name of our team. And just so they can soak up that atmosphere, because 90% of the people that are around me that work out in this culture are there because they love the atmosphere of it. They love the camaraderie. Everything about it is just so natural and organic. So I would first tell them to get around people that they're comfortable with, or seek help from someone that fits their personality. If they're an outgoing person and they love the whole machismo of it, people screaming in your face, amping you on, then get around that. If you want a more holistic approach to it, because I'm also like very much into meditation and yoga, there's also that aspect. So find people that are similar to you, and that's easy to find on social media and things of that nature. But I would say reach out to the person and actually meet them before you show up and see them and realize that they're not exactly what you thought they were.
That's awesome. I definitely am always trying to find the best at what at, let's say, in my world, the strength and conditioning realm, and I also do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But there are so many, like you said, so many different types of people, and you have to find the person that your personality works with, that's going to allow you to grow best. Because even though somebody may be sharing lesser knowledge than someone else, you may not, respond to it as like you were saying. Since you didn't mention your age, over the years, what do you think has kept you, let's say, focused on, because I see you guys in the wintertime, and here in New York, the wintertime is no joke. You guys are out there getting after it. What do you think, three things that have kept you focused on staying with doing the calisthenics and not falling back to the old big box gym, and consistently, let's also being able to compete?
I think it's two things. One thing is that like I was always competitive, and I mean I'm not the tallest person, and I love to play basketball. I've had colleges tell me that I was too short. Meanwhile, I probably performed the best that I've ever performed in my entire life. So it's like me having something to prove with myself, and that's what calisthenics is you against yourself. And like you said, we sometimes will train outside of the cold, and what people have to realize is, being in the cold is not a bad thing. I also practice Wim Hof. If you feel familiar with Wim Hof.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of benefits from exposing yourself to inclement weather. So all these things are just pretty much challenges to me. So me being focused on not being sedative in what I do, and always wanting to push myself and challenge myself is one thing. And saw the changes in my whole lifestyle, and that's when I really, really started to do more calisthenics than powerlifting and weight training. I still do weight training. I love kettlebells. I'm also kettlebell certified, and I love that movement. I love everything to do with natural movement, but I benefit a lot more from the more natural movement styles, and calisthenics is one of the things that keeps me going. And not to mention, like I'm naturally an introvert, and going to these parks and meeting different personalities kind of broke me out of that. And now I'm more comfortable speaking in front of youth and many different people about, all different walks of life. And usually I'll have a panic attack before I do it. Like I'll get nervous even more than I do in a contest. But as soon as I get in around those people and hear them talking, I get a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm very similar in that way. It's like you're dreading the moment, and then once the moment comes, you realize it's not so bad, and you've done it before.
Yeah, you just shine.
Exactly. So speaking about like being around different types of people, and going around other parks, what do you think usually stops people from getting to? Because hey, listen, I do a lot of training, and pull-ups is definitely not something that's easy to do. And you guys do it with tricks and all kinds of different obstacles. And I mean, what do you think is the mindset that usually stops people from attaining that next level? Because again, that competing is it's not easy.
Right. Yeah. See, and that's where I get back to that. The first thing you have to do is humble yourself, because you have to accept the fact that it's going to be difficult, and also accept the fact that, realize that it's your practice. Like like they say in yoga, it's your practice. No one around you can say or do anything other than assist you that will make you stronger. Like I tell my clients and everything else, I said I can instruct you to death, but you have to do the work. So you have to set your mind that, okay, today I'm going to get on the bar. I'm just going to hold it, but I'm going to hold it for a whole minute and be happy with that accomplishment, and realize that's your accomplishment. You couldn't do it before, now you can, and then you take a step further and further. And that's why I like the park atmosphere, because usually I go to a gym, and it's everybody's having their own internal competition with each other. Like you see somebody curling a 55, and you're like, I'm gonna go curl a 60. Forget form, throw form out the window and everything else. You just want to just big machismo, and I did it, throw it down. At a park, if you see a person, I've seen it 100 times. There is the same, kind of competitive aspect, but we have the same when we say the bar doesn't lie, because you can say that you're better than somebody, but that's when you compete. You say, okay, so let's compete, you against me, and the bar doesn't lie. Whoever hit the best won. So I would always see someone new come around. Usually they have a friend that invited them, or just, they're brave enough to just walk into the park and get involved. And they'll literally do 2 pull-ups, and people will congratulate them because they know they were there at one time. And they encourage them to come back and say, hey, you're going to get better. You just got to keep coming. And I have never seen this in the gym as much as I see it in the park. I know there's like certain gyms that I go to. I know you guys. Yeah, I know you guys encourage that a lot. I know that's why your people come back, because you guys show them a lot of encouragement. Yeah. So that aspect, I see it organically outside as opposed to inside the gym.
I agree, 100. It's very, very difficult to create a culture like that, and I think the outdoors definitely allows you to, when you're out there, I think together like that, whether in the hot summer or in the cold winters, like you said, that first one is such a big deal, and then that second one, and watching people do that. As a coach, for me, it's one of the greatest pleasures for me is when I see somebody, especially I train a lot of female athletes, for them to be able to do a chin up, and the celebration obviously is great.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you have a child, and you take your child to the park, and you do like one pull up in the park, and you're like, oh man, I can only do one. Meanwhile, your child's looking at you like, wow, can't believe you just did that.
Yeah.
You have to humble yourself and realize that one
Absolutely. Now talking past that first one, what do you think, like, when it comes to the competitive level, what do you think prepares you the best for your competitions as far as maybe either do you have like a certain routine or mindset you try to go with that helps you be such a success?
With me, like the first competition I ever competed in, I, I was working every Saturday in my other job, and this event was going on for maybe like 15 years. It's called the Pull Apart Jam. They have it out in Brooklyn. They're gonna have it next month, and it's an annual event. It has a huge turnout, and I saw this like on YouTube, but I could never make it to the event. And the first year that I made it to the event, I went to the organizer and said, you know what, I've been waiting to do this, and you know I plan on putting on a good show, and I wound up winning like my weight class, like in everything, pull-ups, push-ups, steps. I placed top three in every single category, and that pretty much stapled me as a competitor in the sport. But me personally, I need to quiet my mind to get focused on the task at hand. I think that I don't put a lot of training into like preparing for a contest as I should, I guess. I pretty much just go through the motions and make sure that I'm mobile, make sure my joints and everything feel right, make sure my mobility is good, my stretching is good, cardio is up, and I feel that as long as I do that, I can go to another level once my adrenaline kicks in, and the whole competitive spirit and my team cheer me on. So I don't worry about that. All I really worry about at the contest is doing the best that I can. But that second before they say go, I don't hear anybody. I don't think about anything else except for getting in a rhythm. And that's my whole thing. I just want to get in my rhythm. And as long as I get in my rhythm, I'm happy.
That's very similar to actually a lot of the answers a lot of the other guests gave. That it's pretty much who they are, and then when they're in that moment, there's a switch, which is, that's why you are where you are, which is great, man.
It definitely kicks in. It definitely kicks in. And then, it was realizing after that first contest that I can actually compete on the top level. That is was pretty much a lot of my motivation also. But then I think that if I didn't do as well, it would have pushed me to train harder. But in my mind, I said, you know what? I've seen these guys, and then we have YouTube and everything else. So a lot of people usually post their best or close to their best, and I would go out to the park and I would try it. I said, okay, I think I can beat this person. And then plus going to these parks and actually training with these guys, I travel around to all different parks and just introduce myself and make a name for myself that way, as opposed to just sitting and watching it on the TV or computer. So I pretty much see what my competition is like, what level I have to be at. But that said, your best laid plan goes right out of the window in the moment. But you just hope to focus on the task at hand, staying in rhythm, and doing what you know you can do.
It's pretty sound. I mean, again, it's very hard for a lot of people to understand how to get to that, that successful level. And so, giving perspective on, it's really more about practice and time and consistency and being dedicated. How do you think, being a competitive calisthenic athlete has shaped you as far as a father or a leader? Because again, leading a group of well more fit athletes, being part of the team. How do you think that shapes like one to the other?
I've always been a firm believer of hard work pays off, and leading by example. Like I would never tell somebody to do something wholeheartedly that I haven't at least tried or researched myself. So for me to tell these guys, all right, look, this is what you need to do to make sure that you can win.
Spoken like a true leader. I like it. So you think that's going to help play into your legacy is the type of leadership that because now it has evolved so much. Like you said, you guys are almost trying to push to make it into a sport like CrossFit. Uh, how do you think that plays in where I'm sure you've seen it from like you said where it all started next to Yankee Stadium to where what it is now today.
It's still in the beginning stages because for the most part we still just do it in the local park. Now there's two sides of this. There's the freestyle side of it where there's a lot of tricks and stuff, and then which they also have competitions on the West Coast. There's guys like the WCO, they hold great events at different venues. They even do the whole Fit Expo tour where they display which is what I call like freestyle calisthenics. These guys are doing amazing things. A lot of it is kind of gymnastic based, but the skill level is always there. I can do the tricks also, but I prefer just to promote the what we call the reps competition, which is basic calisthenics. The most you can do for a set period of time because I feel that's easier to judge and it's easy to judge as a competition because everything is based on the amount you did, a set period of time, and key judges. It's a little difficult to change to judge a freestyle competition. That's like judging a breakdance competition. It's like okay, who did better? But if everybody's doing the same thing, it's a lot harder to judge. But that all started in local parks here in the Bronx, and now it's worldwide. Like overseas in Russia, it's a huge competition. Guys are winning cash prizes, and they're building a huge name for themselves. And that said, it still hasn't gotten to the mainstream as much because from people that I've sat down with, they said it's because you have to standardize it a little more, which is why I focus on the reps part of it, repetition, because it's easy to standardize that.
Yeah.
And I have a couple events coming up to start building a record, and so I can present it to whoever as an official sport. But I think it's going to take a couple of years for people to recognize it as an official sport. But I see it happening, and I would love to compete when it does. But I know that I'm going to be behind it, behind the scenes, because I really want to see it legitimized, and I'm very passionate about it.
That's right. But you know what? It's very clear to see that you're very clear on what your vision is as far as where you want to go with that. Who would you say that three people that influenced you the most to be where you are today in the fitness realm and leading your team?
I would say that the first person is my mother because she's to this day the strongest person I know. She's the most strong-willed person that I've ever met in my entire life, and just her mindset. If she says she's going to do something, you better believe she's going to do it. And I try to embody that, as much as I can. Um, Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of people that I meet that there's a guy that started the longest running calisthenic event named Keith Fields, and I respect him just for the vision. Well, it's like him and a couple of his partners, but he's like the face of the organization, and just his vision to start it way back when. I think there's 17, 19 years in now that he's still just doing it in the park and it's a nonprofit organization. And it's there every single year, and every year is a huge turnout, and people are literally just showing up for bragging rights. But like a friend of mine told me, it's the working man's Olympics. It's your way of displaying your skills, and it's a skill that you can develop without spending a cent. You can just go to a local park and do some pull-ups and some push-ups and some squats and stay healthy at the same time. And it's just all about promoting health and positivity and community, because community is one of the biggest parts, and like Keith, that his organization has always represented
That's awesome. So, what are some current things you got lined up? I know you have the vision, but like as far as maybe some calisthenic competitions this summer coming up, or any events coming up that people could check you out on, and then where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, we have coming up, the first event will be in Chicago on July 22nd. We'll be in Chicago at Harrison Park in Chicago. It's going to be a calisthenics competition sponsored by Pull Up Park Jam, followed by Pull Up Park Jam's main event will be on in August on what day is that? I believe it's the 22nd. And that's the main event. That's the biggest calisthenic competition as far as repetition that we have in New York. All of this can be seen on my Instagram page. It's Q France, like the country, QFRANCE. I usually post all events and keep everybody updated on what's going on in the whole calisthenic community. And my sponsor, who is Pushing Weight, who's an apparel company, I've been working with them from I think my first couple of times when I won competitions, and they just started giving me apparel, and then we do community events like talking to kids in high school. Then we also did the NYU bench press and calisthenic competitions. We are actually working on a tour where we'll pop up at different locations and challenge a bunch of people to some competitions to give out some free apparel. So the first event will be in Chicago on the 23rd of July. So I'll be heading out to Chicago for two back-to-back events, and then we will have one in August 26th at Yankee Stadium, well, the Home Dam, which is across the street from Yankee Stadium. And everybody is willing to come out. Welcome to come out, and it will also be like a workshop for those who don't know what they're doing or is just interested in it and want to learn. But we will be competing and learning, and we'll have a kids event and just have some fun out there.
Nice. I was gonna just ask you. So, since you guys are the pull-up, push-up kings, what are one tip you could tell somebody for push-up, one tip for pull-up? How are you gonna get there?
The hardest for the pull-ups. I think pull-ups are one of the hardest exercises because there's guys I know that can bench press 500 pounds. They can do pull downs with the entire rack. You can't do 4 pull-ups. Pull-up is just the most strenuous and difficult thing you can possibly do. The first thing you want to start with is your grip. You just want to get on the bar and hang on, see how long you can hold on to the bar, and then you practice isometric holds, chin over the bar, or even forehead to the bar. Before you could do, I had my son even do a chin-up grip, and he would just hold his chin over the bar as long as he could, and I told him to do that every day, and eventually you'll get a pull-up. So I'll come home from work on certain days, and he's jumped on in the little doorway chin-up bar and just have his chin over the bar, and he'll hold it. I think he was holding it for about a minute, and after a couple of weeks of doing that, he was able to do about 3 or 4 chin-ups. So first step is hanging from the bar, because you got to be comfortable with your dead weight, and then practicing either a jump up or a step up and an isometric hold, because doing the isometric hold will actually train you to actually pull upwards. And also, while holding the isometric hold, instead of dropping when you lower yourself, you do an eccentric extension. So you lower yourself as slow as possible. That alone is very difficult for most people, and that is exactly where you should start as far as pull-ups go. As far as push-ups, first thing is learning to engage your core, and even to the point where you put your heels together, engage your glutes, squeeze your quads, and being comfortable in push-up position. And you can do an eccentric there as well, which is, you lower yourself as slow as possible. Give yourself about 10 seconds to lower, and you do like a couple rounds of that. If you cannot regular push-up, which is your hands and feet, you can lower to your knees
You got to put it into action.
Yeah, you have to see it in action. Oh, I forgot to mention that I also teach a calisthenic class at a gym called Revolutionary Fitness in Harlem every Wednesday at 8.
There you go.
You also look that up. So yeah, so push-ups, push-ups is a lot more about your core and your hand positioning, and pull-ups is the monster. You have to get on that bar and get comfortable hanging with your dead weight.
There you go, people. You hear that? Gold. You want to get good? Do that. Quincy, thank you so much. I bow. Thank you so much, guys. Another episode of The Experience in the books. We will be back with another one next week. More fire.